Hey, this is Wileen Benson, and you are on the Daily Gratitude Call, where we start every day in gratitude. Gratitude is the highest energy state that we can be in. It creates a frequency of positive vibration that attracts positive experiences into our lives.
Hey everybody, this is Wileen Benson. This is our Daily Gratitude Call. Want to welcome everybody who is here listening on the podcast and also our stalwart live participants. We only have just a couple of us on today, a few of us, and I'm sure we'll be having some people join us. If you hear a ding every once in a while in the beginning, we'll have a few people jump on a little bit late, and so you'll hear that ding, and we'll just find out who those people are and welcome them when they come. I want to encourage anybody if you haven't been on live, it's a really fun experience to have to be a part of this mastermind, and to be able to share your thoughts and the things that you get through this private meditation that we do at the very beginning. And once you share that, a lot of times that inspires somebody else to share, and it just we kind of build on each other. So it's wonderful to be able to participate on the recording, and you can participate live. I encourage you to listen, or not listen, but yes, listen. But when we stop and do our 90-second private meditation, that you take a moment and put down whatever you're doing, pull off the side of the road if you're listening, while you're driving, if at all possible, and actually participate with us as if you were live. Because whatever you receive, the things that we discuss afterwards are going to add to what you receive. And it's just like participating here live. So I encourage you to fully participate and be part of our live group here, even if you're listening on the recording. For today, I felt like it would be fun for us to just have something really general and not give you any instruction. And we're just going to focus on gratitude for useful tips. So that's a really broad subject. I'm excited to see what comes up from that. So I'm going to set the timer for 90 seconds. 90 seconds is a powerful amount of time to start implementing. When you focus on something for 90 seconds and use your imagination, put emotion behind it, really focusing 100% listening, then it starts the wheels of creation in motion. So whatever you focus on for 90 seconds, you're going to create more of in your life. And so that's why we choose that amount of time. It's really powerful to know that, because a lot of times we focus on worry, we focus on doubt, or fear, some of these things that we don't want to create more in our lives, but not knowing, kind of having that be, if you didn't know that, then you might unconsciously be creating something that you really don't want to create in your life. So there's a useful tip for you, that when you focus on something for 90 seconds, you start the wheels of creation in motion. So that is what we're going to focus on today for 90 seconds, gratitude for useful tips, and just writing down whatever comes to you. Begin. This morning we are focusing on gratitude for useful tips. All right. First of all, let's find out who just joined us.
Susan?
Hey, Susan. Welcome.
Thank
All right.
you.
Gratitude for useful tips. I received a couple of useful tips. I mentioned on one of the calls last week that I was having some pain when I was eating, and I just had this thought to look up gallbladder, and looked up gallbladder, and some of the, pretty much all the symptoms that I was experiencing were on that list. And since then, I've been doing more meditations. I've gotten a couple of useful tips from just people, that I know that I was feeling that. And I remembered that, it's probably been about 3 months ago, I was at my chiropractor, Dr. Joe Kipo'o, Ohana Chiropractic in in Orem, Utah. So if you happen to be local and you're looking for a good chiropractor, I'll give him I have an awesome respect for him. And about 3 months ago, he had me do a liver scan. He has a machine in his office that kind of scans your liver and tells you, what you need to support that. And one of the things that I had totally forgotten that we had done about 3 months ago was drinking lemon water in the morning and then celery juice shortly after that, about 20 minutes later. And and also with the email that he had sent me, the staff had sent me about the things to try, which, the lemon water and the celery juice was one of the things to try. He also sent me a meditation that I had never watched. So I watched it. It was only about 5 minutes long. It was super short. And that meditation, I added that to the lemon water and the celery juice, and I can tell you I'm not feeling any kind of pain or anything when I eat. I feel great, and it was just those tiny little things that I changed, and it was very, very simple. I mean, didn't cost hardly anything at all. I went and bought a bunch of lemons and a bunch of celery, but other than that, it was just no cost, and it's a healthy, natural, healing technique. And especially the meditation added to that as well. And so these useful tips, I just feel like I'm so grateful that I was able to leverage, I wrote the word leverage, other people's learning and skill. And just really grateful for those useful tips. Did we have somebody new join us?
It's Kathy.
Hey, Kathy, welcome. We were focusing on gratitude for useful tips. Who else would like to share? Well, while you're thinking, I'm going to share one last thing. I also had the thought that the snake on the pole, with Moses, when everybody was getting bitten by the snakes, and he put the snake on the pole and said, all you have to do is look. And some people didn't because it was too simple. And that was a thought that I had too, was, these tips that I'm implementing were super simple. And grateful that I had the confidence to be able to, and the courage to do something simple. Tyree.
I was just going to share how, whether it's from our own intuition or the Holy Ghost or scriptures, or just looking at lessons that we see in other people's lives, or so many, the list goes on. There are so many ways that we can look for those useful tips and save ourselves that struggle and pain just by using, and like you said, leveraging their experience for our own gain. And I'm so grateful that there are people willing to share and really give their gifts of understanding and knowledge to the world, and what a blessing that is.
Awesome. Thank you. The thought came to me also as you were talking about like intuition and the Holy Ghost and scriptures, that our daily GPS is a really great, that's a useful tip right there, is just to do your daily GPS every day, because that's where you're going to receive those useful tips. That's where you're going to get those inspired shortcuts to, of how to get through whatever it is that you're experiencing right now. Thank you.
Definitely. That has been huge for me, and in working through my postpartum, and I'm pregnant again, and I still have some stuff that I'm working through, and GPS has been life-changing for me, because then I'm listening. It creates a space for me to listen every single day, so that I receive that assurance of love from God.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that testimonial. I feel the same way. Thank you. Who else would like to share?
I would like to share. Sometimes useful tips are all that we have to go on. I mean, there are things where you can spend $1,500 for things that don't work as well as some of the useful tips that you receive. And just like I was mentioning in my gratitude, just some different techniques of breathing has been so huge to help heal my sort of felt like I had, I don't know what they call it, sort of a gravitational force on my lower abdomen, and just breathing and really concentrating on bringing that up has been huge, and just it didn't cost me anything. It just breathing in and really using the power of your mind to do so much. And most of the useful tips that I find that are so valuable are just changing your thought patterns just slightly, and that's what this gratitude call is, just changing your thoughts and your perceptions and letting go of things that really are silly to hold on to, even forgiveness and repentance, how life-shattering changing that can be. It's such a, you think you're holding something over somebody else, and it's just freeing you. It's a beautiful thing.
Awesome. Thank you. And I love what you're saying, that most of these useful tips that we get are free. You go to YouTube and you get some amazing useful tips just on YouTube. I also want to mention, you said something about you could spend $1,500 on something that's not as effective as just a useful tip that you get from someone. I had someone who reached out to me for one of those 15-minute calls that I offer to anybody who, would like to do that. And she was experiencing, she had a stroke, and the part of her brain that was affected was the fight or flight part. And so as a result, she was constantly in this feeling of anxiety and fight or flight. It was like she was constantly like on the verge of death, that kind of feeling. And she reached out to me and asked me, if there was something that could be done about that. And, honestly, I had no idea if what I could provide would be helpful. But she shared with me that she had gone to a clinic, and they assured her, that they would be able to help her and everything. And she spent over $1 million at this clinic, and it made no difference whatsoever. And I offered to do a power alignment process with her, which is a deeper and more intense version of the permission process that we do here on the call. And up front, I said, I have no clue. I've done this with people who have PTSD and, whatever, and it's been helpful. But I said, with your situation, I've never worked with anybody who's actually had like a traumatic brain injury in that particular area of their brain. And so I said, I don't know if it will work, but I'm excited, to see if it would. And she, at the end of the call, was completely calm, at peace, and just was amazed that she was able to step out of that fear, that fight or flight fear, and to be able to step completely into a feeling of peace and calm and create some new beliefs that would help support her, when she, after the call, that she'd be able to continue feeling that way. And it was just a testament to me of how just a simple conversation with someone who, has experience walking somebody through a process can be so powerful and give you back your power and the hope and, the ability to take back control of your life. Thanks for sharing, Colleen. We have time for maybe one more quick share.
I'll share really quick. This is Kathy. Just when I got on, you said you were focusing on useful tips. I thought you said youthful tips.
Useful.
I'm like, oh, don't we all want tips that will help us be younger? But I just had to share that. Just kind of, we're in a situation where we, looking at remembering when we were young and what can we do to keep our minds useful. So, but useful tips, there are so many things. So, just
do you have a useful tip for us? I feel like I'm listening. Useful.
I think it's just the power of the brain and attitude and
true.
Having those visions, keeping a vision of what you want your life to be like, and it can be more useful just in how we feel, and so.
Awesome. I totally agree. The attitude, positive vision, the power of our brain is amazing. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and shift over to the permission process of our call. So I invite you all to take a deep breath. And if you had something that you wanted to share, I invite you to write those things down. And when this call's over, go to our Breakthrough with Gratitude page and just share whatever you were wanting to share, because I know it will be beneficial. It will be an awesome, useful tip for all of us. One more deep breath. And I invite us to be right now in the space of receiving. We're going to be asking for some useful tips, and I invite us to be completely open to receive, even if it is simple, and especially if it is simple, that we will receive it and take action on it immediately. One more deep breath. And I'm going to just invite each one of us to get clear on a question that we've had where we have needed a useful tip to be able to move forward. So one area of your life or one question that you've had that you don't really know what step to take, what direction to go. Maybe you've got a decision to make or several different options and you're not quite sure which one is the best. So whatever that area of your life is where you've got questions or confusion, I invite you to get clear with what that is in your mind right now. Write that question down. And then send that question out to the universe or up to God and wait for the answer. Just be open to receive the answer. Just ask your own question and wait for the answer. And as you've received that answer, I invite you to look over that answer and then close your eyes and be aware of any limiting beliefs that might keep you from taking action immediately on these next steps, on this answer. And as you look at that limiting belief, I invite you to examine the cost of it. If you hold on to this limiting belief, just reading this limiting belief, not even as it associates with the question that you ask, but this limiting belief affects every area of your life. If you run your life by this limiting belief, what is the likely outcome? What is the consequence of having a limiting belief like this? And if you don't like that cost or that consequence, then I invite you right now to make a decision to give yourself permission to choose something different. And you do that by saying yes.
Yes.
All right, and then go ahead and choose some new beliefs. What are some new beliefs that will take the place of that old limiting belief, allow a different outcome to be produced, and also empower you to step into these this new information that you've just received when you asked your question. So what are some new beliefs that will allow you to let go of that limiting belief, create a different outcome, and take action immediately on this answer that you received? Okay, let's see how we're doing on time. Okay, we've got a couple of minutes to share. For me, it was really interesting. The answer was not what I expected. My question was, how do I generate consistent cash flow? And the key word was consistent there, because I have cash flow and then I don't have cash flow. So I want some consistency. Anyway, as I think I mentioned yesterday on the call, I have made the decision to just completely give all of the control over to God and to just basically put a blindfold on and follow every little step that He gives me. And so I had this question, and I didn't have any agenda on what that had to look like. My thought was that it's probably going to be like an action step on something I can put in place to create some consistency. That would be what the logical brain what I personally as a business owner would say would be the answer. But the answer is be smart with my money, protect my money, invest in certain returns. So only invest in things that have certainty in their returns. So that was not the answer that I expected. So that's what I'll share. Is there somebody else who would like to share?
My kids, I've been working on creating more cooperation with my kids, and my limiting belief was that my kids won't cooperate, which just invites more of that. And so I need to work on this some more. But one of my new beliefs is that I invite cooperation through feelings of peace.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, because we really can't control other people, but we can definitely control the attitude with which we show up, so that feeling of peace that you bring to the table. And you bring in cooperation, you exhibiting or being an example of that cooperation. We do have control over that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I appreciate everything that everybody has shared today. I know several of you probably would love to share your insights as well, and I encourage you to go to the Breakthrough with Gratitude page to share those. I'd love to grab your new beliefs as well and add to what I've got. And as always, I want to give that special invitation to anyone who is struggling to reach out to me for that 15-minute conversation. I don't know what will be created during that 15 minutes. And maybe it ends up being a little more than 15 minutes, as it was with this woman that I shared earlier in the call, because I was inspired. You know, my intuition told me that's what she needed, and it was not only a help for her, but it also gave me confidence that regardless of what your situation is, that there is a useful tip. You know, there's an opportunity for a process. There's something that can be done. God doesn't, you know, everything always works out. Any kind of, quote, problem that we might have, there is a solution for it, and it's a simple solution. God is simplicity. If there's anything that I've learned from my walk with Him, is that He is simple. He does not create confusion. He does not create hard. Everything that emanates from God is simplicity and systematic. And so if you're experiencing anything that is not that, I invite you to reach out to me on AskWylene.com, just AskWylene.com. Schedule a 15-minute call with me so we can just kind of brainstorm and have a different perspective. And we'll see what we come up with. So far, I've got a 100% success rate of helping people. So I invite you to do that. That's free of charge, and I'm just happy to do that for you. So thank you all for being on the call today. We'll look forward to tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Mountain Time, right here for our gratitude call. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much for listening, and I encourage you to tune in every day to the Daily Gratitude Call. And the Daily Gratitude Call happens live every weekday morning. I'd love to have you join. So to find out how to join live, go to my website, WyleneBenson.com. Thanks for tuning in.